Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this session, this roundtable session of the India-EU Water Partnership, which is dedicated to exploring opportunities for EU water sector businesses in India. I'm happy to say that we have already engaged in a series of events which are exploring different opportunities across different states across India, whether it be for like river basin management, irrigation, environmental flows, or indeed treated wastewater reuse. Without further ado, I would now like to invite Mr. Paul Vigensen, who is the Managing Director of the European Business and Technology Center, EBTC, who has been one of the co-organizers of this series of events. Mr. Jensen.
Thank you very much, Gaurav, and thank you to the EU delegation, the Indo-European Water Partnership, our partners, GIZ, for today's event, which is actually what I would say in Denmark we would say it's the raisin at the end of the sausage, because we've had, as Gaurav was hinting, a long string of events talking about opportunities but also challenges in the Indian water sector throughout a number of subsectors of the Indian water sector, really focusing on what is important for European companies to focus on when engaging and looking at the opportunities and engaging in the sector in India. I think throughout the whole series of events and sessions and roundtables we had, the webinars, it was very clear that there is a large opportunity and there's a large need, large requirement. It's a large willingness on the Indian side to want to engage with European solutions, European companies, European partners, and European financing. But there are a lot of items that also got highlighted throughout the series because we had different thematics throughout the whole series. We had a detailed look at intellectual property rights when people bring new technologies. How do I secure that? How do I maybe share intellectual property if I'm co-creating something when I first get to India? We looked at regulations, which policies govern the Indian water sector. Is it a central theme? Is it a state C theme? Is it a district C theme? Is it a urban local body theme? All depending on which subsector of the water sector it is. We looked at different project structures. So whether the hybrid annuity model for large projects, or DBFOT models, or build, operate, transfer models, private partnership models. We looked at technology adaptation. We actually spent a session in a living lab trying to understand, if I'm a European company, I'm coming to India, I have a product that works in Europe, I have a solution that works in Europe, I have an idea that works in Europe, but does it work in India? And that's a question that we all have to ask ourselves as Europeans, because the conditions and the environment in India is typically very, very different from what we know in Europe. And we need some effort and some thinking on actually seeing how does it work in India. What do we need to adapt? Do we need to despecify, respecify some technologies? And you'll be happy to know that I've been in India for a long time, and I've been one of the biggest promoters of India, but not India only as a market, India as a place to experiment. So come as a European company, work with Indian partners in India, create a product that is probably more relevant for the Indian market than what you already have on the shelf in Europe. And in the end of the day, you might actually be co-creating together, European and Indian partners together, co-creating for a global market. Yeah, because what you create and it works in India, and you have experience and you implement in India, there's a higher probability of this also working in other parts of the global south. Yeah, so I think this was also a message that came out from the whole set of series that we had. Now, this is the last event, sort of the rounding up event, trying to gather a lot of that information that we were given by numerous experts throughout the past 3 weeks, and really again focus on these opportunities and challenges. And what we will obviously do with all this information is to collate it, consolidate it, and spend a lot of time on creating awareness about this, also going beyond this roundtable today. And I think that's also one very important part of the Indo-European Water Partnership, which I know that Dr. Tyagi, who's here today, will explain in detail, because this is only the business part of that project. Yeah, it's a long ongoing project looking at government collaboration between the EU and India on a variety of sectors of the Indian water sector. But I think there's also the recognition that whatever is discussed, whatever is agreed on at government to government level, in terms of policy intent, regulatory issues, standards, whatever, what is so important is that we involve businesses, because it will only be implemented on the ground if businesses can actually follow if those policies, if those regulations are conducive to actually doing business. So I think that was also something that came out, that there's been a slew of new regulations, a slew of new policies at central level, which is basically just guidance for most projects, but also at state and urban local body level, to really try and infuse more business and a lot of more also sustainable technologies, because I think that's also at the core of the EU-India partnership, is a big focus on sustainability. And I think that was also a guiding thread through the whole level of series. I mean, didn't matter whatever we were talking about, there was always the sustainable element that got infused and was part of the whole fabric of what we were doing. So that was also very, very encouraging. It was also encouraging to see what has actually happened in the past few years in terms of the uptake of new projects, in terms of the intent of new projects. I mean, these numbers are mind-boggling, especially from a guy who comes from a 5 million person country. Yeah, so the scale in India is very, very challenging for European companies, but thankfully there's help from the Indian side to manage such scale, and that's also why more often than not, what we're always recommending and saying is that work together, yeah, and because then the probability of having successful projects is higher. It is a challenge. It's a maze. It's a bit of a puzzle for Europeans to navigate all these elements that I've already spoken about, the different project structures, the policy, the regulations. But it's not an impossible job, and it's a much easier job if we do work together. And I think that's also some of the messages that will come out from some of the experts we have here today to speak to us. I'm happy that this is a hybrid event. I know it's sometimes challenging when we do a hybrid event to get people physically in the room, because it is easier to log on. But I'm happy to note that we have a lot of people watching online. That just goes to show also throughout the whole series that there's a lot of interest from both the European side and the Indian side in the water sector and in doing good and doing good projects in India. So I think I shall stop here with my welcome remarks. I would like to welcome you all here in the room, as well as everybody online for this live session. We have a lineup of speakers, and the objective of the session is also to have some level of engagement, because businesses always have a lot of questions, and it's always good to have these questions and have them answered, and to be able to address them. And that's also what the Indo-European Water Partnership is here for, what GSZ is here for, what EBDC is here for, to sort of create that environment that if there are any questions, any issues that need to be addressed, we're there to support in that manner as well. Yeah, so thank you very much and welcome you all once again. And yeah, look forward to an engaging and interacting 2 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those remarks, Paul. I think that was really insightful. I would now like to call upon Dr. Vikrant Tyagi from GIZ, which is the implementation partner of the India-EU Water Partnership. Dr. Tyagi.
Thank you, Gaurav. On behalf of EU delegation in India and GIZ, I welcome all of you to the roundtable jointly organized by the EBTC and GIZ under the framework of India-EU Water Partnership Action Phase II. Gaurav, can we have the next slide? India-EU Water Partnership is a strategic partnership between the Ministry of Jal Shakti of Government of India and the European Union. And this partnership was set up to consolidate the political and strategic framework for efficient and effective cooperation between the European Union and Government of India on water, basically regarding the development of various policies. And the aim is also like to develop the approaches and processes that are based on the EU Water Framework directives. Under this uh, partnership, a memorandum of understanding was signed, which is like a basis for this partnership. And on behalf of EU delegation, GIZ is implementing this partnership in India. So, the whole basis of this partnership is like we have to cooperate and involve all the actors. And then when we look under the framework of this partnership, we are working with the Indian water authorities both at the federal and state level. Then lot of European Union member states are active. So when we look on like the water related issues, challenges and solution, there is a lot of synergy between what is being offered or presented in the Indian water sector as well as the European Union member state. So we used to IWP is a platform which brings all the experience from the European Union member state to the Indian water sector so that these better policies and guidance document can be framed and can be implemented to achieve the objective of integrated water resources management. We also involve various institutions, NGOs, and civil society so that things can be vertically and horizontally scale up. Now coming to the main thing of this roundtable, this partnership also aim to involve the businesses because as Paul has mentioned, like when all the guidance and knowledge which is created to manage the water resources, until or unless businesses are not involved, we cannot have that level of scaling up of the recommendation as well as the viability of those solutions cannot alone be done by the government. So that's why businesses are important so that the solution can become viable first thing. And the scale which is being offered, like when we look the Indian water sector and the population and the challenges we had here, means huge potential is available. And if there are certain success stories in European Union to manage those challenges, it is good like we could replicate those success stories in Indian water sector, adapting them to the local condition and can implement here. So, business involvement is crucially important to the Indian Water Partnership and is high on the agenda because, the reason which I just mentioned, like businesses are required to bring the technical know-how, first thing, and second is to make the options viable. Then this partnership aims to flag business opportunities for EU companies in the Indian water sector based on our existing activities. So there are four thematic areas which I will show in the next slide. So a lot of guidance is being developed together with the Indian water authorities, both at the federal and state level. And then we also intend to facilitate a gradual implementation of the recommendation or measures through solution forum. And my colleague Mr. John will going to present on solution forum, its composition, mandate, and what is being proposed. So there will be a separate presentation on that. And then business input with innovative technical know-how to improve efficiency and sustainability of water management in India. in this, I also want to add, there are India EU Horizon 2020 water cooperation projects are ongoing. There are 7 projects which mainly deal about the water treatment facilities and research for drinking water as well as for wastewater. And now there is also kind of recommendation of those projects are available, and we want to work together with the businesses so that the market uptake of those business recommendations can be ensured, and those technical recommendation can be made viable so that it is easier and it is beneficial to financially sustain them over a longer period of time. So, India-EU Water Partnership, it started in 2017. That time, together with the Ministry of Jal Shakti of Government of India, 9 priority areas were being identified, and the phase 1 of India-EU Water Partnership started in 17 and end up in October 2020. And subsequently, we started with the next phase of the India-EU Water Partnership, and the 9 priority areas were then further consolidated into 4 thematic areas in which we have worked in the second phase. The second phase started on November 2020, and we are ending the second phase today. So it's a kind of a thing where we can also showcase the successes which we have made. So there were 4 thematic areas are there. If we look on the horizontal pillars, they are river basin management, irrigation and efficient water use, environmental flows assessment, and safe reuse of treated water. And on behalf of the project team, on behalf of the support which is provided by the European Union to the Indian water sector, we are happy to say we have developed 2 river basin management plans for Tapi River and for Ramganga River. And they are being submitted to the Ministry of Jal Shakti, both the plans, and both the plans have been developed on the best or good examples and practices of EU Water Framework Directive, and they hold a centerpiece that is called program of measures which need to be implemented by the basin states in India. Water is a state subject, so central government is in a position either to support or either to provide a guidance over that, but the main task of implementation now lies with the basin state. And I'm happy to say that while developing the river basin management plans, Tapi Basin State and Ramganga River Basin State, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and for Tapi, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat was fully on board. All the states have appointed the nodal officers, so it was everyone is involved. It was not like a one directional top to bottom from federal to state, but it was involving all the partners and working together to bring solutions to manage the river basin. Then for irrigation and efficient water use, we know in India, agriculture sector is one of a major consumer, and majority of demands are coming from the agriculture sector. So the support was provided to Ministry of Jal Shakti to develop a protocol for the assessment of irrigation efficiency of medium irrigation project. The protocol is ready, and in the next phase, which we will be starting from tomorrow, we aim to also apply this protocol to other irrigation projects in India. The third important thematic area on which there was a joint cooperation was on the e-flows assessment. So a river is called river if it is flowing. So what will be the adequate flows, how to determine those adequate flows. And when we look on Indian situation, we have glacial fed rivers, basically the Himalayan rivers. Then we have rivers which are fed by the groundwater like Narmada. We have rivers which are monsoonal. If we go to the coastal area, monsoonal rivers are there. So if we see as they are being fed by various sources, we cannot have a single solution for all the river. Means the solution has to be determined by the place, the locality, the geographic terrain, the condition, the landscape which is available around, and the climatic condition prevailing in that area. So there was this thing like how we can decide that what should be the right methodology to decide like okay, for this river this much amount of water is adequate and this much environmental flow should always be maintained so that river can provide the ecological services. So when we look on the European member state, the situation is similar like what we have in India. If we consider like the river in Germany, Austria, they are like glacial fed river. Then we go to Spain, the southern part of Spain, we have groundwater fed river. We have monsoon fed, monsoon not river fed, I will say in Europe. So river fed rivers are there. So the European experience to determine like what should be the adequate methodology to determine the flows, we have experimented that in the Indian water sector. The Ramganga River Basin was selected for this. We have also done studies in Mahanadi Delta and in Bharat Puja in Kerala. And then a guidance document on e-flows methodology was developed, which is now ready to implement in Indian River Basin. The fourth thematic area is safe reuse of treated water. Means I'm happy to say that under this partnership, a national framework on safe reuse of treated wastewater was developed together with Ministry of Jal Shakti and National Mission for Clean Ganga. It was a consultative approach in which all the relevant federal ministries were involved, along with the institutions important like Central Pollution Control Board. This framework was also launched by Honorable Minister of Ministry of Jal Shakti, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, in Bhopal in January 2023. And this framework provide guidance to the Indian state to develop coherent approaches for managing the safe reuse of treated wastewater to foster the reuse in their state. And as we know, like it is not that in India we don't have the success story for reuse of treated wastewater. We have like Surat as one of a important case where a lot of revenues have been generated and strong financial success is made by reuse. We have Chennai water reuse case. So this framework also kind of provide guidance to states which already have a success story to replicate the successes which they have made in their one city or one industrial cluster to another. Like if we see in Gujarat, Surat is one of a good, very best case, but we don't have such kind of case in other Gujarat cities. So this framework is providing guidance in terms of the viable business model and viable business model for various end users, like for municipal, for industrial purpose, for construction purpose, for irrigation purpose, and it also provide a stepwise approach that if the decision maker or the policy maker have to implement these business model, then what kind of institutional arrangement, what kind of business model they need to put in, how they have to work, what will be their mandate, their role, their functioning is being clearly determined. And all these documents, I'm happy to say that they are discussed in a consultative approach with the water authorities of Government of India, both at the central and state level. So it is not like that it's one way thing. Everyone was on the table, lot of exchange happened, and then these documents were being developed together. Then for all the thematic areas, we have like cross-cutting pillars under which we want to facilitate the measures which are being suggested, and then facilitation toward the piloting of EU technologies. This is one of the important things which we are promoting under the framework of this partnership, where we intend like if EU companies, EU businesses want to undertake certain intervention in terms of small pilots in some municipal areas of India, then this partnership can provide a platform where networking and initial support can be provided in terms of like project structuring and the relevant stakeholder through the India Water Partnership Action. Then this partnership also intend to flag business opportunities to EU businesses in the areas which we are saying river basin management, irrigation and efficient water use, environmental flows assessment, and safe use of treated water. Because whatever the technical implementation of activities have happened, there are two kind of recommendations are coming. One is like which is on the softer issues or the policy level issues, like what kind of changes has to be done at the institution level, policy level. The another is like where a certain kind of physical investment is required, where we are saying technological interventions are needed, or government has to undertake certain project for particular period of time with kind of like targeted interventions. So through this, we want to promote the entry of EU businesses in the Indian water sector. Then capacity building through knowledge dissemination is important. And finally, the overall aim is like we want to strengthen the India EU political dialogue on water cooperation through this partnership. So as I was saying, like there is a lot of recommendation from the work which we have done. So I will just take you through few recommendations which have been suggested, like the kind of work which we have done for Tapi, for Ramganga, in terms of safe use of treated water, irrigation and environmental flows. There is a strong recommendation that we need to really work on the sewerage infrastructure, wastewater treatment, including the segment of microfiltration and promoting or facilitating the reuse model. Then common effluent treatment plant, both at the industry level like ETPs, and then the common effluent treatment plant at the industrial cluster level. It need to be taken up. Then strengthening of monitoring network is important, so that we really have a kind of facts available with us on which certain decisions can be made which are really on the ground situation. And then we also need to see, like when we look on the data situation which we have worked on, is like we have a long set of long data sets are available with us, but how to provide a kind of platform where this data set can enable the decision making. That thing we need to strengthen. So we are thinking like the European companies which have a kind of solution through artificial intelligence, or supporting the real-time monitoring or sensor technologies, they should pitch in and should bring the technical know-how regarding this thing. Already a few experiments are happening in Ganga Basin, but we need to replicate it to other river basin in India. Then, as I mentioned, that irrigation is one of the important sector from where huge demands are there. So smart metering technologies for monitoring and regulation of groundwater withdrawal is one of the such recommendation. Energy rationing is also being mentioned using prepaid meter. And when we look on the regional area in China and Bangladesh, and this is like one of the success story. And considering the kind of consumption pattern which we have now in India, and the demands which are growing, it is being suggested by a team of expert together with the Indian water authorities that now there is a need that a paradigm shift should be there, and we should now start focusing on certain measures. Then expand the water quantity monitoring network and establish a water metering system for irrigation to better monitor water delivery to farmers field. Modernization of irrigation system, starting from the management and all the planning of water reservoir. We need to promote the efficient irrigation practices. And even if we look on the kind of budget which is being allocated by the government of India, which clearly showcase the commitment and how important this sector is for government of India, means if you look like was on the resources allocated by the government of India, it's like really high. There are many schemes under this Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana and Command Area Development, Har Khet Ko Pani. So there's a lot of potential that with the project authorities, water project authorities, certain project can be structured in a way, can be developed together so that they could be implemented to achieve the objective of managing the uh, water resources in a holistic way. Some of them like gravity irrigation system, pressurized pipes, drip irrigation, and canal rehabilitation, automated flow control structure. Canal automation is something which Indian irrigation or water infrastructure is really looking for. Then monitoring is important so that we really have the data and we can take a solution like what is changing at what time, what are the situation pre-monsoon, post-monsoon, how things are happening, what kind of trends are available, when and at what time, on which scale interventions are required, and how to have like IT solutions so that things could be managed in a better way. And even if we look on the Indian subcontinent here, we have like lot of success stories. This is just like how we can replicate it or how we can bring better technologies which are proven in the European Union so that they can be replicated on that scale. And to EU businesses also, like if we look on the means the opportunity which Indian water sector is offering, it's huge. So considering at the scale level, means economies of scale, means whatsoever the solution which EU businesses will going to bring, it will be means beneficial and multifold to them. Then we are recommending that the municipal landfill should be managed in a way that leachates or the fate of pollutants which are coming from these landfills should be managed. And if you see in all the urban areas, these landfills are growing, and yeah, then aquifer recharge system and invest in new IT infrastructure, software, and very important is capacity building so that we can continue to efficiently perform with all the interventions which we intend to bring to the Indian water sector. So, as I have mentioned that today the phase two of India Water Partnership action is getting complete, and from tomorrow we will be starting the phase third of India Water Partnership action. Phase three really want to have like a strong focus on the implementation of measures. So when it comes to implementation of measures, as mentioned, government support from the federal authority is required. State water authorities, as they have to implement it, is means it is crucially important. But business requirement is like something is which is like really needed for technical interventions as well as for making the options viable. And we also intend to have a kind of cooperation exchange with the financial institutions so that together with the state government and the uh, federal water authorities, certain projects can be developed together, and they can be taken up by the state government for the implementation of measure. At GIZ level, I also want to mention that we have one project called Develop PPP, in which the BMZ or the German Ministry for Economic Development is providing support to the private companies to develop a project which aim for development measures. In which 50% is provided by BMZ and 50% resources being provided by the private player. And if there are any interest on the develop PPP, GIZ India as well as India Water Partnership can facilitate this. And my colleague John will going to present on the solution forum shortly. So in terms of like the support or the way forward which India-EU Water Partnership action can provide to the EU businesses, we can support and like through various consultation, workshop and webinar, which Gaurav has mentioned initially, like under this phase also there was a series of webinar and certain hybrid events. Now coming to like the support which we can provide is we can support the EU businesses to identify certain municipalities in Tapi and Ramganga Basin, and project structuring can be done at the municipality level because they have to design and submit it to government for resources. Considering the means the capacities, this kind of support is required at the municipality level. So through IWP action, this kind of support we can provide so that better projects can be structured and submitted. We can enable exchange to create viable business financing model in consultation with development banks, funds, and similar stakeholder. Currently in Government of India, there is a lot of emphasis on bringing the convergence on various uh, policies and programs which are financially supported by the Government of India. So we can also support in a way like which policies have the common objective or which programs have the common objective, and then they can be clubbed together so that I will say a river management centric lens can be provided, and considering the special area we are dealing with, broader objectives can be set. Then this partnership intend to flag the opportunities to the EU businesses in the relevant areas in which we are working. We want to promote the research and innovation cooperation with the EU India Water Cooperation projects. Like I have mentioned about the 7 EU India Horizon 2020 project, and recently, as Paul has mentioned, that we had a event at IIIT Hyderabad where this living lab is there, where we can really validate the technologies in the Indian water sector. Like there were certain examples wherein the technologies from the EU or some other countries could not be that viable because the ground situation were not similar. So now if we want to do a certain kind of experiment here, we have a concept of living lab like at IIIT Hyderabad, and in Kochi also under another project of GIZ, and then we can support to develop the project under develop PPP if any EU businesses are willing to do so. So I thank all of you, all those who are physically present and have joined us online for taking out your time. And I look forward that there will be certain suggestion from your side so that we can integrate your suggestion in developing the areas for our phase 3 so that we can better reflect on your suggestion while doing the technical implementation of activities under phase 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tyagi, for those really insightful remarks. It's great to see what the India-EU Water Partnership has been doing. And as our previous speaker, Paul Jensen, has also pointed out, there is really a great appetite for cooperation between the EU and India. We are now delighted to invite Mr. Nitin Basif, who is the program lead for water from the Center for Energy, Environment and Water, CEW, to present his thoughts on circularity in the water sector and the entire policy ecosystem with regard to the water space in India. If I could just request you to, yes. So perhaps, yeah, if you can have the presentation, please. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry, the first one. This is it. F5. Presentation. Should be F5 over here. Yeah. There you go, sir.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to the India-EU Water Partnership session on looking for the business opportunities in let's say used water management sector in India. We no longer call it as a wastewater sector; we call it as a used water sector. And this is something which our government is also heavily promoting. in addition to, of course, the people who are here, I also thanks the audience who's present online. I am made to understand that there are substantial number of people online, and they would be interested in knowing more about this subject. Before I talk about the topic, it's also a customary exercise to understand, from where I come, who I am, with which organization I work. I work with Council on Energy, Environment and Water. We are India's and probably Asia's leading policy think tank. We work across 15 program areas, which are categorized under 3 verticals. We call them transformations, where we are looking at options of how we can move towards low carbon pathways, low carbon economy. And most of the work in this under this vertical is actually oriented towards that. We believe that through these transformations, we'll be improving the quality of life. And that is why you see clean air, food systems, water, cooling, mobility are part of the quality of life. And to achieve these transformation and improve the quality of life, you need enablers. And this is what our third vertical is all about. And so it looks at enablers like finance, investment, technology, and of course, when we talk about circularity, all these enablers become very important. We are a team of about 250 plus multidisciplinary researchers from various educational background and various experiences. We work across 20 plus Indian states, and we have been, heavily engaged recently for the G20 proceedings, and we were knowledge partner to more than 10 Indian ministries on the G20 front. Briefly about the water program that I lead. Of course, circular economy, as you see, is one of the major focus areas that we have in our sustainable water program. The other 3 areas that we work on, and I will be very brief here. I mean, we work on capacity building for mainstreaming climate action in water, where we are developing various tools, methods, to find out how we can enable this. One very interesting work that we are doing is on policy coherence in water, energy, food sectors. This is also an important work, and it directly relates with SDG 17, which talks about achieving the policy coherence across sectors. And then we are also focusing a lot on water accounting based planning, which helps in decision making at the basin level. And I understand, I mean, being part of the India-EU Water Partnership in the previous phases, so I understand the focus is also a lot on the river basin management planning. And one of the areas that we work on is water accounting. And you can also see a lot of publications that we keep on coming out with. Most of these publications you can find online. They are available. We have a policy that everything is in the public domain. And these publications are peer reviewed, both internal and external. We do not just, kind of stop at just publishing reports. We want to reach out to wider masses, and this is what the policy think tank is all about. And that is why we keep on writing regularly for newspapers, English, Hindi, other regional languages that we have in India. And the idea is to influence the policy sphere. And this is what we think that is an important culmination of the research studies and the projects that we do. Now, coming to the circularity, first of all, we need to understand why it is important in Indian context. So, this is what you see on your screen is a river basin map of India. So, there are 20 major river basins in India, and our assessment shows, I mean, simply using the data which is available in the public domain on the water availability in these basins and the population that is expected in 2025, we see that most of our basins will be water stressed. So only the blue areas or the blue basins that you see, they are experiencing no stress, which means the water availability here is more than 1,700 cubic meter per capita per annum. But other basins, either they are water stress or they are also water scarce. So water scarce is when the per capita availability goes below 1,000 cubic meter per person per annum. So this is the condition that we are living with, and what will happen is your numerator is gonna stay more or less same, because if we even take into consideration the variation and the variability that you experience from year to year, what is going to change here is the denominator. And as the denominator, which is population, changes, the need also changes. I mean, we need more agriculture produce, we need more manufacturing, we need more water for supply. And that is why this stress or the scarcity which we experience is going to only increase. So that is why there is a need to, explore options. And if we specifically talk about urban areas, and the reason is because urbanization is moving at a very fast pace in India and across the world. It is not only India, it is across the world. So, there has to be options which, can improve the efficiency of water supply, because that is how we can, maximize or optimize the available water that is with us. And also look at reuse as an option, because this is very important, because as the urban area goes, I mean, already we are getting water from several kilometers. I mean, Delhi is getting water from some 200, 300 kilometers outside Delhi. I mean, it is coming all the way from different states. So it is already, and this is a situation in many other cities in India, that they are increasingly getting water from outside their administrative zone. So increasingly that investment is moving up. We are running out of sources, reliable sources which can ensure that water supply. So locally we need to do something, and we need to ensure that sufficient water is available, and that is where reuse becomes very important. Just to kind of provide you a brief picture, and this is the data that we kind of collated from various ULBs. It is not easy to get such data. So unaccounted for water losses in Indian cities, it varies from 13 to 60%. Now, you can see some of the cities, they are water stressed, but still, the losses are very high. For example, if you look at Delhi, so Delhi is water stressed. I mean, it's a kind of a semi-arid city. We don't have a lot of water sources. Of course, Yamuna is there, but in the lean season, it doesn't have a lot of water. And we have to depend on outside sources. But still, when we supply water for consumption, the losses are somewhere around 40%. So this is the, kind of a situation that we are trying to improve. If I talk about wastewater, or let's say used water, as I said that in India, at least we are using the term used water, not wastewater. So what we know is from the official statistics, and believe me, this is also based on the assumptions. And the assumption is that whatever you supply, you consider 80% is returned as a used water. So that is the assumption with which these numbers are being projected by various government bodies. So about 72,000 million liters per day. So this is the amount of used water generated from the urban areas alone. We are not talking about industries here. We are not talking about rural areas here. This is only the urban areas which is generating this much amount of used water. Now, if I look at the installed treatment capacity, and this you can also see in a map which shows a regional variation in the installed treatment capacity in India. So the installed treatment capacity is only 44% of the used water that is generated across India. And you can see most of the eastern and the southeastern side of India, the treatment capacity is quite low in those areas. But the actual treatment as of 2022, in year 2022, was only about 28% of the total used water which is generated. And the reason is that sometimes it is the issues related to the O&M. Sometimes the capacity is there, but not all the sewage or used water is able to reach the unit. Sometimes there is no manpower. Sometimes they run out of they run out of money to replace membranes. So these are the various concerns that are there. So that is why you see that about 28% is treated. We have made some estimates, and as per our estimates, there is a big scope for strengthening the treatment infrastructure. And we believe by 2050, we would be generating about 120,000 million liters a day of sewage from the cities. And the treatment capacity, which is right now at the 44%, is expected to reach 80%. So there is ample scope of investments and scope for let's say business in this area. Just to provide you about the costs that are involved in the various treatment technologies that are used in India. So this particular chart, the top one, it provides the first 6 or 7 set of treatment technologies that are used in India. So you will find MBBR, ASP, USB, SBR, MBR, and then of course some nature-based solutions regarding waste stabilization ponds and duckweed ponds. They are also being used. So if you use, and what we have done, we have analyzed this cost, considering the 25 years as the life cycle of the sewage treatment plants. So you will see that the MBBR is a, lowest cost, in a long term, but the energy requirement of MBBR is very high. MBBR and both MBR, the energy requirement is very high. This is what is shown in the second graph. So, there are these trade-offs. So on one side, your capital and operational cost might be low, but then the energy requirement is very high. And this is also where, we need to, think about whether we can, go for renewables with these, while we are installing these plants. So the energy cost itself come down. So that is also one area, which is of great interest to government, and also can be of interest to the businesses, that, when they are going ahead with installing sewage treatment plants in India, can they also think about setting up of some of these renewable plants which can be a source to run these sewage treatment plants. A very recent work of ours, what we did, we also tried to provide some economics behind the waste, or let's say the used water sector in India. See, unless and until you see the economics, you see the numbers, you don't you value it. So, and this is perhaps, first of its kind of assessment that has been undertaken at the pan-India level. So, what we have, estimated is that about 11,000 MCM of treated used water was available already in 2021, if we would have utilized all the capacity. Now, considering that the capacity is going to increase to 80%, so we assume that about 35,000 million cubic meters of treated used water will be available for use. If it is sold at the current market value, it would generate about $8 million. I mean, it would have generated in 2021 if you would have utilized all this water and sold it for various purposes. And if we are able to do it in 2050, this value goes up to $24 million. Now, if I kind of divide the available used water which is there with me into various components, looking at the demand from various sectors. And if I take irrigation, so what we see is that in 2021 itself, we could have irrigated 9 times the area of New Delhi. This is just to highlight, the importance of it. Because if I give some number, then you might not, oh, it's fine, it's a small number. But irrigating 9 times the area of Delhi itself, it makes you think, about the potential that this used water can have. And this will become 26 times by 2050. So this is, the kind of available resource that we are looking at. And the revenue it could have been generated is about $12 billion. And from where it is coming. So we are assuming that, I mean, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with India. So in a lot of our urban areas, in the peripheries, a lot of vegetables are grown. Right, and those vegetables are either using groundwater or using some other water. Sometimes it is also untreated used water. I mean, I should not be saying this, but yes, this is what happens. So if we can supply at least this treated used water in those areas, we can reduce the groundwater pumping. That is one. The other is we also be ensuring safety, because this is a treated water. This can be used for irrigation, and it will also reduce the health and the impact on the soil. So, all these things we have to think about. Now, whatever treatment you give, used water has a nutrient value. So, what it will do, it will also reduce the fertilizer demand. It will decrease the fertilizer demand. So, we estimate that it would be about worth $0.6 million per annum. And because we are reducing the fertilizer demand, which means less energy for the production of the fertilizers. So it will have a positive impact on the greenhouse gas emission as well, because most of the fertilizer plants are run using electricity which is generated from the thermal power plants. So if we are reducing the fertilizer use by using treated used water, we will also reduce the greenhouse gas emission. And moreover, because the groundwater pumping will also reduce. So once the groundwater pumping will reduce, then again there are these greenhouse gas emission benefits that we can get. And when I started, I already made it clear, our assumption is that these plants are running using renewables. The sewage treatment plants, they are running using renewables, so their carbon footprint anyways is not there. Now, just to again provide a nice picture of what can be grown, and this is taken on the major horticultural crops that are grown in India. So one can see that a lot of area under potato, tomato, brinjal, and probably garlic. It can be put under this irrigation, which is done using treated used water. Now, this is all about the why it is an important why it is important to consider used water as a resource, and also providing some numbers, some economics to it. Now, let's move into the policy side of it. So, how the policies are kind of helping let's say various states in India to achieve these targets. So, as of today, we have 10 states which have a reuse policy. The latest entrant here is Maharashtra. They drafted their reuse policy this year, and we got a chance to review the policy, and that is how we know that it is drafted. And very soon it will be passed as well. Now, most of these reuse policies, they specify reuse for non-potable purposes. So definitely any direct human contact is not encouraged. There is also a mandatory reuse of treated used water for cooling purposes in the thermal power plants, which are within the 50-kilometer distance of a STP, within the 50-kilometer vicinity of the STP. And earlier this year in January, we also came up with our national framework on safe reuse of treated water in India. And this national framework is to guide states, how, especially those states who do not have the policy, on how this can be made. And I would also like to mention that this particular framework was also made enable through the India-EU Water Partnership that is running. And this is how this policy instrument was drafted. Then we have a Amrut scheme. I mean, there is no need to go into the, what is the full form of Amrut, but this is just one of the schemes in urban areas. Now, what it does, it mandates that any city should be using 20% of, or should be meeting 20% of its water demand through treated used water. And not only this, at the state level, 40% of the industrial demand should also be met using the treated used water. Of course, there are challenges, concerns from the industry's point, which will always be there. That needs to be taken care. But this is how the policy environment is also favoring that, how this can be made much more mainstreamed in the way the policy are framed, and their implementation will happen in India. What we did, we also did kind of a very deep analysis of these policies in order to identify what these policies talk about, what they miss out. So there are three, main points that we found in all the existing policies. One is that they don't talk about reuse plan. Having a policy won't solve the situation unless and until you have a reuse plan. So that reuse plan should make assessment of, how much water is there in the city, how much water demand is there, what are the avenues for making reuse of treated used water if it is made available, who will be the clients, and what kind of a business models can be developed to promote this, to promote investments from businesses. So the reuse planning is not done. And I'm happy to share, recently we have signed up an MOU with the municipality in Maharashtra, and we will be helping them with the preparation of the reuse plan. So we have already started this work, and what we show, we also mean in it. So we are already on way to preparation of these reuse plan. The other thing which is important to note here is that, they talk about, reusing it, but there are no direct mechanism on how you are going to allocate this. For example, if you want to allocate the available treated used water to irrigation, or you want to make it available for industrial use, how you are going to allocate it? So which is your priority sector? Is it irrigation? It is industry. So such kind of allocation principles are not there. And the final thing which is missing and which is very important is that these policies don't specify reuse specific standards. For example, if I have to make use of this treated use water in spray guns, what should be the the standard? If I have to make use of it for irrigation, what should be the standard? If it has to be supplied to industry, what should be the standard? If it is to be used for groundwater recharge, which is happening in Delhi, what is the standard? So there are no such standards. So that is also where these policies lack. So, we also analyze some of the international, kind of reuse practices that are falling across the world. For example, Singapore, Israel, Spain, a lot of areas in Europe where the treatment facilities are almost 100%. At least the treatment facility, full treatment facilities are there for the sewage, and reuse is also at a very large scale. So, based on this assessment and what we, kind of assess through our policies, definitely there is a need to recognize used water as an integral part of water resource planning. So we understand that you have a different reuse policy, we understand that there is a different national framework, but ultimately it should feed into the national water policy and it should be, kind of a part of it. Of course, I spoke about specific reuse purpose water quality standards. We have to empower urban local bodies. Of course, if we empower them, then only they will be able to make the reuse plans. They will be able to think about what to be done with it. We have to think about the improving the financial viability of these systems. That is where you can attract investments. And of course, we need to leverage the technological developments where many of the European countries are at advanced stage, and we can see that how we can leverage those technology. Now, before I end, I will also, kind of present you some kind of models that are existing in India. So it will provide you an idea that, if you want to enter into India, which particular, kind of models you are looking into. So one is a fixed price model. What happens here, urban local body or a ULB, it outsources the treatment process. So, a private entity comes up and they set up the system. What they are assured is that they will get a regular sewage from the ULBs. So they get this sewage on a regular basis. They treat it. The primary, consumer for them are the thermal power plant station, because there a lot of the water is used for the cooling purposes. So they are the primary, client, but of course they pay for it. But the private entity is also free to sell this water, the treated use water, if it is in, excess. If the thermal power plant, kind of needs are fulfilled, then it can be sold to another. And there are, these contractual engagements. So, there is a contractual engagement between the ULB and the private entity. There is a contractual engagement between the industry and the ULB for the bulk consumption of this water. So all these contractual engagements are there. And one of such projects is already there in the city of Nagpur, which is in the central part of India. Then, a lot of the new complexes, new residential complexes which are coming up in India, there the government is actually supporting a lot of decentralized, way of handling the sewage which comes out from various residential areas. So there usually a resident welfare association, they set up a sewage treatment facility. And of course, to manage and operate it, they are dependent on the private entities that who actually manage these systems. And most of the treated water is used for non-potable purposes like landscaping, flushing, cleaning, and there are n number of examples, I can quote, but one important is the Auroville, which is in Pondicherry, and this is internationally this is known, so that is why I thought of, putting it here. So in Auroville, they provide both secondary and tertiary treated water for various purposes. And of course, it is maintained and managed by a private entity. Then there is also an exchange model, and this model we came across again in one of the ULBs in central India. What they do is, so this ULB is purchasing water from the Water Resources Department to supply to its, to supply to the people. Now, of course, they have to pay for it. But instead of that, they have set up a sewage treatment facility. Again, its maintenance is outsourced to a private entity. And in return, they give this treated use water to the Water Resources Department. And Water Resources Department, because they are also supplying water for irrigation, they use this treated use water for irrigation. And in return, ULB gets offset. They don't have to pay for the water which they are supplying back as a treated used water. So this kind of a model is also existing and very interesting. So, you don't have to worry about what will happen to this used water. And it makes a lot of economic sense also, because then I am also reducing my expenditure on procuring water from other government agency. Then one interesting thing we see is the reuse certificates. So this is we have seen in the state of Maharashtra. So what happens is that every large water user at the institutional or the industrial level, so it works very much like a carbon pricing mechanism. So what happens here is that a reuse target is set for a big entity, and they are asked to kind of meet those targets. So if any entity is able to make use of more such water, so let's say if I say that you have to use 10%, but you end up using 20%, so you get reuse certificates for that 10%, which is tradable in the market. And then there might be an entity who's being given a target of, let's say, 20%, and they're only able to beat 10%. So they can purchase the 10% from you, and this is how these reuse certificates are being institutionalized, and they have been made tradable so that they become more popular. And of course, then we have a corporate social responsibility. Under corporate social responsibility, what we see is that many businesses in India, they are making a lot of investment, especially in the small towns, or maybe they are having their own townships, which are being from where the sewage is generated, and they are taking care of that sewage, and ensuring the treated used water is supplied elsewhere for irrigation purposes, or even what they are doing is that they are also entering into this contractual system with the super chains, market chains, that since this particular vegetable is grown using treated used water, it has less of fertilizer. So it also adds to the value of the product that comes out of it. I will stop here, hoping that it would have given you some context. And please feel to reach out to us. We'll be really happy to have exchanges with you and share further whatever we can. Thank you so much. Sorry, take out the pen drive. Sorry.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Basi, for those really insightful remarks. It was great to know what's happening in places like Orderville, Gwalior as well. The issue of the reuse of reuse certificates in Maharashtra as well. We are now delighted to call upon Mr. Kuldeep Khanna, President of the Okhla Industrial Area CETP Society, to share his insights on what's happening in the water sector over there. Mr. Khanna, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me. I am heading a CETP plant since last 20 years in Okhla. The total CETPs in India is about 197 in numbers, and have a total capacity of treating 1,810 MLD water, sewage. But actually, the real treatment is of the entire CTPs in India is around 1,070 MLD per day. So the plants have been underutilized, or rather over-designed. CTP Okhla has got a plant of 24 MLD, but we are receiving only 20 to 25% of sewage. Probably it was over-designed. The plant was designed in 2000 and has completed about 20 years now, and needs upgradation. Earlier it was designed for only different kind of parameters, but now the latest parameters are 50 COD, 10 TSS, 10 BOD. So the plant needs to be redesigned, reorganized and needs to treat the sewage to the present parameters, for which the plant needs to be upgraded and technologies to be upgraded, and we have to oversee that it meets all the design parameters. We are making a lot of efforts and looking into international market also, the kind of technology we can receive and treat the sewage in accordance to the, rather effluent according to the present circumstances. I had been to Taiwan for a few times, and I have also seen the technologies there. And I found that the technology which is available with them is slightly better than what I have ever seen before anywhere. And it should be the technology should be very cost effective, and the replenishment of the media or replenishment of all other replacements of components should be very, very less. I have seen one of the technology which is called as a which I find that it is less. So if any technology is available, which are interested in our kind of a plant, I think so we'll be looking forward for it. And also, if somebody can finance it also, we are ready to accept that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those words and for presenting such a concrete project opportunity for our EU businesses. I'm sure that they will shortly be in touch with you as well. We're now delighted to call upon Ms. Shubhi Kesarwani from the Guru Jal Society. The society is doing some remarkable work when it comes to groundwater remediation and replenishment. So I'm just sharing her presentation. If you can just allow me a moment. Okay. If Ms. Kesavani, if I could just request you to start, I'll be changing the slides over here. Please let me know once you want to go to the next slide.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Go back. Yeah.
Can you? Hi. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you. Sorry for that.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you so much, Mr. Sehgal and his team, for even organizing this event. I loved the previous presentations, and thank you, Mr. Basi. I think I've met you at a couple of opportunities, but thank you for setting the very strong context about why so many interventions and technical interventions are required when we talk about water security. So just a little brief about Gurujal. We started 5 years ago, and we've been working mostly in Haryana, different parts of Haryana. And we work on the objective of water security, focusing more on groundwater recharge. And when we focus doing that, we basically work on a lot of multiple horizontals and verticals, where the idea is to promote a combination of nature-based solutions, but a very strong impact evaluation processes and assessments to using a lot of technologies to implement the solution. So basically, why are we working it? Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. So we see, like Mr. Basi also shared, that 60% of India's population is going to be on the forefronts of water crisis starting from 2025 to 2025, and we don't really have a lot of time. So that was the crisis which called the district administration of Gurgaon and then we started working as a special purpose vehicle for the administration and eventually different areas of Haryana and India. So what we realize is that one size fit all approach is not working. And we really need to have more hyperlocal solutions when we talk about water. Geography of India, socioeconomic conditions, native ecology is all varying from place to place, and it can change as much as within 50 kilometers radius. Can we move to the next slide? I think I'll just keep 1 minute each so you can keep moving to the next slides. So we basically believe that there has to be definitely products and services which are giving you the right technologies that you need, but there has to be a decentralized, customized, grassroots level approach to groundwater challenge and hence management, which is actually able to address the issues of equity in groundwater governance and management to achieve water neutrality and security, which is very, very much required. So we as a team of we are think and do tank committed to avoid these zero scenarios in India. We have a very diverse team internally with architects, civil engineers, wastewater experts, eco restoration experts, and we work with a lot of very senior advisors in the geography to be able to work it, and we try and work on a holistic manner, not just looking at say ponds or rainwater harvesting systems as technical interventions, but more holistically looking at pond ecosystem and seeing if we were to intervene, put this intervention into place, what will the supporters of the prerequisites required, and how do we work with the community around with it, how do we work on the governance procedures to ensure the long-term sustainability of the project, but then also how do we cater to the requirements of solid impact evaluation which would be required by the multiple funders. So we look at end-to-end solutions, right from taking up the project to actually ensuring that it survives its age of 20 years, 30 years, whatever is the planned age of the project. So the Gurujal way is basically, again, we work on hyperlocal solutions with regional impact parameters. We work a lot on community mobilization in collective impact strategy, using a lot of IoT for measurement, and then a bolster governance to achieve sustainability and scalability. Can we move to the next slide? And next. And next. Yeah. So now talking a little about our interventions that we have been working on 5 different verticals and trying to strengthen it. So we have been working on a lot of pond rejuvenation, and for essentially we were the first ones to pilot the 5 different nature-based technologies in the country and then get them published in a form of SOP by Niti Aayog. So we've worked on rejuvenation of 20 such water bodies. Happy to take any one of you if you wish to go there. And this need also came from the fact that a lot of peri-urban and the rural areas don't really have a lot of electricity supply. So how do we actually help them transition to a nature-based technology? Which can help them figure out the solution to wastewater, and then also it is helping to putting it back into the pond so that there is an increase in groundwater recharge. So in within 3 years we've seen more than 200% recharge in the ambient area, and definitely there has been transition in the local ecology, community engagement, and the ambient temperature of the area. Next, we have the module that we work is called waterproofing. The idea is that how do we prevent the leakage? We know that the leakage rate is quite high of water. There's like almost 40% of evaporation, up to 20% of leakages, which is happening in the rural areas, and remaining is whatever is left of the water. So we try and cut them down and reduce the pressure up to on the freshwater resources by up to 50%. We also realize the importance of having more young people who can enter with like the application oriented skills. Yes, definitely there's a lot of intervention required, but we also need enablers and people who can actually go on the site and do it, both at the community level and the professional level. So we are working on a module which is V for Water Fellowship for both community-based youth and the professionals, that is civil engineers, architects, planners, to help them understand what are the application-oriented skills, theories, concepts, and exposure that they require, along with the inner change to be able to serve the cause of water security. So we are now working on a module to have 50 young water experts, both in the community and the headquarters, and happy to collaborate with all of you or any of you who want to apply their technologies in a particular area and see that, and we can explore this opportunity to collaborate and see if these can be the projects that these people learn and work to earn. Next, can we move to the next slide? We have also been working on a very exciting project in the Aravallis, where the idea is that how do we actually restore the degraded forest. So we call it the eco restoration of the biodiversity management. We've been working on the Maleke and biodiversity area of around 500 acres to improve. Apart from that, we also actively keep looking at multiple degraded forest and figuring out what is the most systematic way to restore it, not creating a very, so the idea is not to change the ecology, but to restore it. And in the meantime, the idea is to have more carbon sinks, more groundwater recharge, and prevent desertification from spreading much more, while also promoting ecotourism so that more and more young people are aware about what are the importance of the ecology and what is the implications of the ecology on their life. We also try and touch base through our to multiple people in the society, that not everybody might be willing to work more on the community level or the society level, but then they can work within themselves. So we try and communicate the idea of virtual water footprints and individuals' role in becoming water neutral and water secure. So we try and we've engaged with more than 2 lakh people to be able to train them, impart them the trainings that how can they cut down their virtual water footprint. Can we move to the next slide? So the idea is that you can always collaborate. We try and work on green credit ready projects. We work on the projects which can help you offset water and carbon. We have a very strong alignment and integration with Bhujal Yojana to achieve the scale and visibility of the projects. And then, of course, this helps the multiple corporates and industries improve their ESG rating. We work with people who can contribute in different forms of capital: the financial capital, natural capital, intellectual capital, material capital, social capital, and human capital. So again, happy to collaborate in any of the ways. As I shared, we have very amazing board of trustees and advisors, renowned experts from the country who are working with us. We have Mr. Avinash Mishra, who's a retired advisor of Niti Aayog Water, who's on board, and then Dr. Fawzia Taranum, who's also a trustee and a strategic advisor with us. So happy to engage with you in. You can share. You can visit our website to know more and connect with us over email ID and calls. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those very insightful remarks. It's great to know that that water management is being implemented at the grassroots like level as well. So I mean that's really great to know. We're now delighted to have a presentation from Mr. Dhananjay Mahajan from RoServe. Mr. Mahajan will be joining us virtually, and he'll be talking about the really innovative work that their company is doing when it comes to wastewater treatment, particularly for industrial MSME ULB usage, and their innovative model for doing this in a pay-per-use way. So, Mr. Mahajan, I'll just share the presentation, and if I just request you, if you could just let me know when to shift to the next slide. Sorry, sir, I think you might be on mute. I'd request our technical team also to just help Mr. Mahajan with the mic. Sir, can you hear us now? I see. So I think we still have some technical issues. So what I would suggest is perhaps if we move on to the next speaker right now, and perhaps we can call on you following that once. Oh, sir, I think we can hear you now.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sorry, we can hear you now. Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I thank you very much for this roundtable and for giving us this opportunity to present us and our technologies before you. And also thank you for the dignitaries for hearing us also. So I am Mr. Mahajan. I belong to Concord Enviro Group. So the Concord Enviro Group, next slide, please. So the Concord Enviro Group consists of many of the flagship companies and also the ROSA, which is one of the companies which is also in a partnership with the Danish Climate Fund. Yeah. Hello. Hello. ROSA.
So we can hear you.
You can hear. The presentation is one missing from my screen actually. Sorry.
Sorry, if we can reshare the presentation on the main screen, please.
So ROSA is a part of Concord Enviro Group. We have one flagship company called Rochem Separation, which is a membrane technology company. We have Concord Enviro Edgery based out of Sharjah. We have Reva Enviro, which is into sewage treatment, and we have Rochem Service, which is basically a service organization which basically looks after our plants and equipments. And these are the various. At the bottom, you can see various range of technologies. The next slide, please. So, one second, I think I'm not able to see the slide. What is there? What is coming on the screen?
I'm sorry, sir. I think this is the next slide, the third slide. It says introduction to ROSA. We're just trying to manage the presentation. You should
Okay,
be
now
able
I can
to.
see. I can see that now. Yeah. So the ROSA name actually comes from reverse osmosis and service. Basically, we have been in the membrane field for almost last more than 30 years, and this ROSA we have formed in 2016, and now this is a joint venture between Danish Climate Fund. We aim to offer a wastewater recycle solution to the industry, reducing the consumption of fresh water, groundwater, and moving toward a zero liquid discharge. With this aim, under which we provide a blend of advanced technologies and also financial solutions for delivering pay-as-you-treat solution, which is quite unique as far as this the business is concerned, and we have had good successes and so far, and we are really going forward. Now, this shifts the responsibility of the wastewater management to ROSA, including investment, operation, and also compliance. Next slide, please. So our presence has been quite in multiple industries. As you can see here, we have traditionally we have started with defense in many years back in offshore, but now if you can see the majority of our installation in industry are distillery, pharmaceutical, tannery, textile, and also the automobile industry, steel industries, paper, and starch. And today we also are operating and maintaining the plants at various sites at wherein our major share is there in majority of the industries again for operation and maintenance with our solutions. Next slide, please. So just to show you one of the textile effluent applications. The textile effluent typically contains dyes, chemicals, and other impurities which are actually non-conducive to discharge and process such as indigo dyeing and also printing further contribute to the complex organic pollutants and also inks. So the finishing chemicals and other non-biological difficult to treat constituents are also causing a major issues for the effluent. So while the primary and secondary treatment can remove the color, most of the organics from the effluent, the discharge of effluent in the environment can pollute the fresh water sources, mainly due to increase in the salinity and associated problems such as increased salt absorption ratio, which is one of the very big concerns because even the agriculture industry, the HAR has to be maintained below a particular level. Next slide, please. So our solution is basically a typically membrane-based solution. What we do is recycle majority of water right up to the liquid discharge, and which is the best solution and best option for safe environmental impact. So this treatment philosophy is followed typically is to basically recycle the wastewater using various processes using low energy, which is one of the unique selling points of our system. That's why we call our zero liquid discharge as the green ZLD, and also keeping the cost of recycled water to the lowest possible. So therefore, for the industry or for any user, the cost of recycled water is actually cost of wastewater treatment and recycle minus the cost of fresh water, which is freshwater reduced replaced by that recycle. So with and differently with increasing scarcity and cost of fresh water, reducing cost of treatment and recycle and cost of recycled water will be the lowest in the long term, and what we can see with the current project that we are doing. Next slide, please. So how we deploy these various technologies? So we have technologies in ETP, we have technology in reverse osmosis, we have technology in evaporation. So right from raw effluent to ETP treated effluent, we have the range of technologies, and we recycle almost 90 to 94%, 94 to 98% of the water using the multi-stage RO plant, and these are like really starting from 30 bar RO systems to almost like 120 bar systems, so that we extract as much quantity of good quality water from this one. And the residue of the RO system is then further processed in the waste management or reject management system streams, which are basically evaporators typically. Next slide, please. So what technologies typically are employed are basically we have a straight tube RO system, plate tube RO system, which are basically used for achieving very high recoveries of the water. Waste heat evaporators. Waste heat evaporator is a very unique technology. Unlike the conventional evaporator that we have seen about, conventional evaporators are made of very exotic metals. Our waste heat evaporators are made in plastic, and these plastics are are able to carry the heat, and we use at a very low temperature. So that's why we are able to operate these evaporators with a very high efficiency of the transfer and with a high recovery also. MVR systems and conventional evaporators, initial crystallizer, which are basically for the end of the pipeline treatment, and of course the brine recovery, wherein we are using the recovered brine for the customer requirement for the concentrated brine. Next slide, please. With a typical case study, we have about 100 plus installations, 150,000 meter cube per day. So so one of the installation in Rajasthan, Bhilwara, the capacity is about 2,880 for the ETP. RO systems of 2,640. Recovery is almost 95.5%, and evaporator and dryer is about 180 meter cube per day, wherein we are able to meet the water parameters of which can be recycled back. As you can see, COD, BOD, COD less than 50, BOD less than 10, and TDS less than 475. Now, as you can see, the kind of water quality standards that are being put forth by the even NGT, even for the sewage recycle, are in tune with this, and that's why we are able to meet this kind of a standard using our membrane technology. You can see the photographs of this system, water being treated, and also output quality water. Next slide, please. So just to summarize the advantages of the ROSO model, this is the lowest operating and capital cost solution by deploying proven and sustainable solutions for wastewater reuse and zero liquid discharge. So here we are doing complete outsourcing of the wastewater reuse and zero liquid discharge responsibility, and we take the end-to-end responsibility. And we can do the phase-wise approach to adopt this solution. It is not that necessary we have to go for a zero liquid discharge. We can start with the wastewater generation to treatment, the recycle, and up to the zero LD solution. Next slide, please. So this is completely a service concept. No upfront capital investment or investment in non-core asset. Majority of industries, they can focus on their own core business activity. You pay as you use, and most importantly, the costs are guaranteed. What even today, when we submit our offers, like we will operate at this, we even tell the customer you can operate at this cost, and we are also telling them that we will be able to do it at the same cost, which is the confidence in the technologies and the system that we are providing. And these are again highly customized solution, industry to industry, even the batch to batch, even the process to process, they can be customized because these are modular system. They can be changed as per the need. And also the flexibility to start with part of the effluent cycle. That's why it is we are able to operate the modular plants. So here, if the customer buys nothing, is defines the need scope, service agreement period. We have been having almost service periods running up to 10 years. And we have close to about 45 plus contracts running only with the ROSA alone. And plus here, this is a zero technology list. We take the technology list. Even any upgradation that is coming in the process of our operations, we upgrade it so that we are able to offer the lowest energy and the lowest cost to the customer. So this pay-per-use model transfer the risk of technology selection to the service provider completely. And we bring in the best suited technologies such as RO, ME, and dryers, etc. We have a range of them in our armory. So today, this has been handled by business. We have close to about 150 plus engineers who are at various sites and who are taking care of our assets which are there. So, and the contracts also can be structured customer to customer as per their operational needs. This also depends a lot. Reduces dependence on this freshwater and groundwater, as there is a increased surveillance also by the central groundwater authority for asking industries to stop usage of the groundwater. And today, industries are being compelled to recycle and reuse as much water as possible within their premises. So, and here this is definitely it increases its compliance in both government and also customer requirements. It allows you to meet almost 90% of total daily water consumption and reducing of your intake of the fresh water significantly. And definitely it reduces the pollution also on groundwater contamination. Next slide, please. So ROSO engages with the customer with flexible structures to build, own, operate, transfer, or rental or operating lease agreements, or simply directly purchasing the system. We can offer to trigger the purchase anytime during the contract at the residual cost of the system, and which is basically a very good advantage for the customer. He can choose to use the contract flexibly. And at the end of the contract period, equipment can be purchased, rented again, secondary lease, or returned back. We are taking back such assets also wherever customer does not have such need, or maybe they have their effluent has been completely treated. And operation maintenance contract can be continued even after the end of the contract period if the customer decides to purchase and renew the lease. So this is what this flexibility definitely adds to the customer's benefit. So we have major customers like Raymond, Aditya Birla Grasim, Arams, and KG Deming. So we will request you to visit our website and also contact us for your needs, and we will definitely be most pleased to deploy our technologies for benefit of the industry and also the government. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing those insights. I think it was like really interesting to know that there is such a pay-per-use like model where companies themselves don't really have to invest in their own like capex to handle these like water treatment solutions, and that is where you step in as well. We are now delighted to have our next speaker. The next speaker is Mr. Raman Kumar from Royal Hanscom DHV, who will be sharing a presentation as well. Sorry, if you could just give me a second.
Thank you, Gaurav. This one, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for inviting me to this forum. I thanks Paul for convening this insightful event, which is a roundtable. I heard Dr. Vikrant Tyagi, Bassi ji, and Khanna sir about their various related water technologies, water requirement, policies. Dr. Tyagiji touched about the um, uh, AI and sensor-based recycle reuse, and he advised how to manage the aquifer recharge. But CG touched upon the policies, which is a need of the hour, very rightly captured. So we heard about you for the Okhla CTP 24 MLDN, which is a requirement and need. Ms. Shubhi also presented, my fellow colleagues who touched upon. So what we do as a Royal Haskoning DHV, we are actually basically infrastructure consultants. We are Dutch, Netherlands-based company. We are 140 years old, and that's why we have a tag of Royal in the prefix. We have a presence across 140 countries, and now we are in India more than 30 years. We drive the remark of that inclusive sustainable development for our clients, and that's why we contribute to UN Sustainable Development Goals as well. We have 4 drives which leads to enhancement of the society, and that is for the requirement of stakeholders, value of the client and society, future proof, and resource and energy. Now, as I mentioned, we have a turnover of €1,600,000, and we are counted in top 50 engineering companies worldwide. Now, as I mentioned, in India, we are touching now 30 years shortly, and we have based a lot of project offices in India, and we are serving this government of India, advising national missions, which I'll just touch base so that we can collaborate on the later phases. As a consultant, we do all concept to design, feasibility, we do DPRs, we handhold the client. If I touch base like say yours, Okhla, then we are very curious to, and we are not aware that the plant is in such a niche stage, and we would like to connect with you, and we will handhold you how to make it as a success. So this is an example I'm sharing, and we be with the client till PMC. When I say PMC, we do their project management and construction supervision support so that they have a good operation and maintenance viability in the later stages. As I mentioned, our 4 pillars, I just touch base, I will not speak much on that. The idea is that makes us stronger, and stronger towards 25 is that by 2025 we have some goals towards India, which will add to their trillion economy path forward. Where we lead now in climate resilience as well. We are in India very strong in water and maritime. So when it comes into maritime also, we are such a handful on orders that we don't have the further people to deliver. So we are becoming very niche in choosing the clients. We have recently acquired a company, TEC, which is known as, which is expertise in tunnels also. On the water technology, we have been awarded in various forums recently, and this flash adds to what Tyagi sir, which you added. Just wanted to say that you represented the need, and we are the solution provider. We have our patented technology. If you have heard in the IT sector company called Essential, for example, so in Dutch, we are stronger in that. We have our IT software people sitting in Netherlands and India as well. Some of the technologies mentioned here are like Code or AquaSuite, OP, PAS. So, you know, these technology, they work on the AI and machine learning. We have recently implemented them in with L&T in Rajasthan, Javai, and other parts of the country. We are still evolving because in India, to accept AI in our water sector becomes a little fussy, you know. It has to take on up to some next level when it is included in policy, which he mentioned. On other side, on the recycle reuse, when we say we have a technology, advanced technology called Nereda. which has been recently pumped out by NMCG also, and they're asking us to get it done. We are doing one in Bihar as well. Our license partner was Wabag, and we had some lessons learned, and now we are trying to get it retained through open, so it will be recently done. So just wanted to touch base. You can see the across sectors in India, which many of you may not be familiar. This is all pure consultancy projects which we are running with various clients across India. So we understand Government of India, their need, how they work and how they function, and we know how to deliver. We have now 300 plus person power sitting in India in the design offices in Noida, Mumbai, and other places. We are getting very niche and strong in flood resilience and water resource projects in India. I will just share you an example what happened in couple of months before. In the recent rains, Delhi got flooded. So Delhi government invited and awarded us this consultancy for this. We are also doing for 6 coastal cities. We are doing for Kolkata. We are very getting very enrolled in Guwahati. We are doing work with World Bank, which is the project called FREMA, largest river basin of Brahmaputra, wherein we are studying their climate impact resilience and getting program management support there. So we have different proven examples, Room for River, Kalpsar project in Gujarat. I mean, these are some of the niche projects which I mentioned. We are very strong in airports also. We have a company called NACO, though that's not a forum, but in NACO, we do water resilience as well. I mean, we are providing all resilience support to the airport clients. And if you have heard this, between T3 and T2, there is a day taxiway which was prepared. So we were the design consultants to them. So these are some of the Delta projects like which we are recently doing in Sundarban, which is in Bengal and Bangladesh. This is also a Dutch RVO funded project. We represent our management team here. I am Raman Kumar. I look for the projects, and I'll be very free to be connected. And later in the session, I thanks Paul and all of the team to give this opportunity, and I'm pledged to interact with you all. So let's collaborate further. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you indeed for those remarks. It was like really great to see and stuff where your company is leading the way in so many different fields over here. We are now down to our last speaker. Our last speaker is Mr. John Thomas, who will be presenting the IEWP Solution Forum. I would request Sir to please join the stage. And this is the remote. If you just go to the next slide. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who are joining from India, and good morning to everyone joining from Europe for this event. So we'll be talking about a solutions forum right now. So what we have been doing under the Tapi River Basin Management. So just to give you a background of it, because this has been developed in the Tapi River Basin, we've been talking about the river basin concepts in the country under the IEWP. It has been, the river basin development was the base for it. So it was not restricted to one state. So it's beyond the geographical boundaries of a state or the political boundaries of a state. It extends over to the 3 states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat. So, all for which again we had the European consultants been involved for developing the basin plan and the basin concepts and all those different aspects out here. So just to give you a background about it, and further in India, water is a state subject. So there are a lot of which you need to basically understand. Each state has its own jurisdiction of the water bodies in their particular state. And so does anything related to the water in that particular state. So the key water management issues which have been identified, by the consultants who have been involved, where the pollution from the, so basically there are 5 areas. One is from the point source pollution, that is from the urban settlements, or it could be from the industries. So second is a non-point source solution, issues, that is primarily from the agricultural runoff or the irrigation water which is going into it. So that's the second source of concern. Third is the alteration to the river hydrology and the water quantity which is happening in the rivers. This again related to the irrigation aspects, which again a water department looks into. Then again with that of the groundwater quality and quantity. That's again another major concern. And fifth is that of the either sand mining issues and with the river morphology, the siltation aspects. And so primarily when we just talk about water, it is not limited to one, which we say generally limited to sewage or industry part. It's much more larger perspective, which the government agencies would also have to look into. So we are trying to bring in a holistic picture on this, and under which we have the, so these are the 5 areas which have been identified by the consultants to take it further. Now, why we want to have a solution for them, I'll get into it subsequently. So there were multiple aspects which have been covered under each of this key water management issues. There are different measures which have been suggested or recommended by the consultants. So I'll run through this fast because that's not my intent to get into it right now. But primarily it gets into 3, which are the different areas which have been measures which have been identified, which are the executive agencies responsible for it, and the different states which are where it is going to happen. So that way, there will be a host of different agencies for the different solutions which have to be done. So that's why it has been listed accordingly. So I'll take a permission to go through these slides fast. So these are the different initiatives, and then accordingly for each issues, which are the different measures, and the states involved and the concerned agencies involved have been identified by the consultants. Now moving to the next is, so the consultants comes with a host of different technologies, and primarily we call the consultants as dream sellers. So they sell a dream and go away. So yeah, unless you are able to convert the dream into a reality, it doesn't make sense. So Solution Forum is primarily to help the government and the different agencies or even the industries convert those dreams into realities, or the concepts into realities, or what are the different innovative technologies and emerging technologies are coming in the market, to make them understand that and how to get further on those things. So number of innovations are coming up, across the globe on different aspects. So the sum of things, whether it is the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotics, these are all people, it may look like jargon, so what does it really matter, or how does the people who are on the ground level or the grassroots level going to utilize those technologies into actual, convert them into the actual projects. So when it comes to the wastewater, earlier it was limited to the basic treatment at the secondary level. Now it goes for the used water, how to make use of the used water, which Nitin has suggested earlier also. So these are the policies coming up. But then how do they do that? So what are the technologies available? So a lot many technologies available. Then how do you choose that? So all those things are a concern for the concern are basically a lot of handholding also required under this advanced treatment technologies. Again, we have the concerns with the agricultural runoff. There could be pesticides, fertilizers being carried away and getting into the river water sources, which could be a concern. So how do we handle them? Concerning the public health. Then we have the, again, different technologies. How do we do that? What is the right one? Then we also have the different irrigation technologies. We have talked about smart irrigation technologies using AI, sensors, and all those things. A lot of talks are going on. So how does an irrigation department take that and implement it? So that's again one area. So these are different business opportunities, and I know not many business representatives may be attending online, or just to suggest that there could be a lot of opportunities in each of these areas. It could be the groundwater monitoring sensors, whole networks which can be put up. Then even solid waste management, different, because perhaps India doesn't have a solid waste or the sludge management standards or anything specified as of now, but it's upcoming. In some of the major municipalities are insisting on Class A sludge and all those things. So how do we reach there? So those technologies are also to be required. And how do we really, when we talk about a circular economy, how do we really put them into circular economy mode where they reuse the whole products and to have the bioeconomy? GIS-based river pollution monitoring, that's again a major area which is coming up and being implemented to some extent in different rivers, particularly in Ganga, is being looked into. Then this is a Dutch technology for the dredging. This are again sustainable dredging practices, which has been already been used in states like Kerala and even Maharashtra. So these are even different technologies for the siltation aspects which could be looked into. Then we also come to the different models of procurement, the public-private partnership, which have been touched upon by in the discussions earlier. So it could be by Paul earlier in his opening remarks. So it could be a DBA 40 or a design build mode, or even the different HAM models. Different models have been talked about. So what is the right fund for the right, the urban local body or for the state government? That has to be looked in and then accordingly helped out with that. So these are different, the procurement models which the government will be looking into. So now there are implementation challenges which these agencies face, and that's what precisely what the Solution Forum is supposed to be supporting them with. That is awareness about the emerging technologies and innovations. They are the ones who are going to invest, and they're going to invest the public money or the taxpayers' money into the systems. Or it could be the industry. Then it's basically then they are responsible to their their stakeholders for the money which has been invested into it. So before they do it, they need to be aware of what are the emerging technologies, what are innovation. Khanna Sahab told that we have a problem, but then we need to know what are the technologies available. So they need an impartial evaluation of the different technologies and looking into it. So that is creating awareness about the different emerging technologies and innovation. Second is validation of these technologies and these innovations. Okay, it looks very rosy, but does it really make sense to me in this country for my application? So there need to be a validation done. There could be a demonstration and trials being taken up for that. So this Solution Forum is again supposed to be intervening, facilitating these type of activities. Then consultants are given a broader scope. Now when we have to the nitty-gritties of it, we need to develop a detailed project report. So who can develop that? The Solution Forum would be facilitating that. Maybe we required consultants like Hasconding or anybody else who can come in and help out with those things to develop the technical and a detailed budgetary requirement based on which the agency can go for funding to different agencies, perhaps to the ADB or to the KFW or to the European Bank or any of these banks for it. So, or even to the state government funding itself or the central government funding. So basically you need a DPR to understand how much you need and what for you need. So these things have to be developed, and that has to come up as a business case. Then identifying financial resources and processes. So as I told, you have a project in hand, but then if you don't have your own finances, you need to see where the finances are. It could be either the state funds, central funds, which are available with the government of India or the state government, or it could be from the investment banks or the development banks, which could be coming into it. So then what processes are involved, what to be done. So those things have to be looked in, and we need to help them with that. That's the Solution Forum, again, another role which is to play. Then the managing the procurement process. I told you it could be that different triple P models, public-private partnerships, different contractual models, different way how you formulate your the bid documents. So those things have to be in. So defining the technical and commercial specifications, so that we also bring in even the emerging technology, because defining the technical and commercial specifications is very critical, because many times people ask us a question. It's very difficult to get into the Indian market. Yes, it is difficult to get into the Indian market, particularly if you don't have the technical specification clearly specified. You want a four-wheeler, it could be anything from a Nano to a Maybach or a Rolls-Royce. So if you just specify a four-wheeler and go for a L1, the one with the lowest could be the Nano. So unless you specify what you need, you will not get it. So that is something which we need to help the bidder go for it. So unless it's properly specified, you may end up with something, the bidder gets frustrated. So it's a lot of frustration all through the process. And you may not get the right deal for the taxpayers' money which I put in for the systems. So that is to be what we're helping into it. And then once the whole thing is done, we have a standardized processes and procedures so that it becomes something which can be built into the system, which the ULBs and others can use as a reference material. So this would be a broad one. Again, it may have to be customized on a case-to-case basis. So this is basically in a nutshell. So if I had to put in one slide, this is all what the solution forum is supposed to be doing or facilitating as such. So the objective is primarily to facilitate the implementation program of measures in the Tapi River Basin. Why Tapi? Though this is agnostic to any specific river basin, but we talked about Tapi River because it's been financed under the Tapi River Basin project. So, and support and enrich the stakeholders, facilitate adaptation of innovative products and solutions, bring in the European best practices and services, how to we share it with them, showcase the various European technologies, could be the demonstration projects or anything of that sort, facilitate knowledge transfer, skilling, institutional strengthening as part of the Indo-European multilateral initiative, and how we proposed or what we proposed and the whole how the constitution of it will primarily it will be involving the financial institutions like the representatives could be from the ADB, KFW and other different development banks, and academic and research institutions, because many times we have a sort of a vetting process done by the IITs or NITs in the process, which is being looked into, or even some agency like C Ganga, which could help with the environmental technology validation aspects. Bilateral and multilateral agencies like IEWP with the GISED and different agencies can be involved in it. Implementing agencies, they are the ones who are finally the beneficiaries of it or who are going to do that. So there will have to be then, and they will be co-opted as per the requirements. So these are people. The core ones will be the Tapi Basin administrators, that is from the Central Water Commission, the Central Groundwater Board, Central Pollution Control Board, state and district level authorities. They are the ones from the government side. Then there will be the industry associations. It can be FICCI, CII, then AHK or different European business houses can be part of that. And also the EU member water partnerships and the forums. So this is what we suggested as the constitution or the basic components of that or the stakeholders of the solution forum. And the proposed activities, I told the preparing of detailed action plan. And this is suggested, we can further, as per the requirement can be scaled up and scaled down for each of this. Then identify and facilitate access to funding for implementation of the program of measures. Maintain database of technology solutions. This has to be a continuous process. And organize capacity building, knowledge sharing, awareness workshops where they can come to know of the different technologies. Procurement measures, because there are a lot of capacity building is required in the state government level and the local governments about the procurement processes. Bid process management, comparative analysis of the different technologies. What are the pros and cons? So again, they may require consultants for that. They may require integrators for that. So we'll be working along with it. Contracts and project management. So we have Hascon telling about what they have been doing on this different project management concepts. Then helping them again with the accessing funds. So this is one is also about the capacity building part of it. Then facilitate demonstration of pilot projects. Then facilitate institutional exchange, government to government exchange programs. Facilitate multi-stakeholder meetings, technology validation and verification studies. Then there are different central schemes available, state schemes available. So if a local body doesn't know where to get the funds, this is where we'll be helping them to raise the capital, look out for the grants, loans. So this is one part of it. And if you see where there could be convergence, there are a host of government schemes running across the country. That's the central schemes are there. So there could be something which could be specific to them where they can take a leverage of it and look into it. And if so, each scheme will have its own, criteria. What are the state limitation or what are the requirements? If you have to put in a proposal, what's the format for that? What's the requirements? That need to be educated to them. So that is primarily what a solution forum is supposed to facilitate. Then host of financial institutions. You have the Indian financial institutions. You have the European Bank, the KfW, the JICA or ADB or the different World Bank, different agencies are there. They could help with the government-to-government financing part of it. So that's part of it. EESL is again, if you want to go for a ESCO model, where the energy saving part of it, they work on an ESCO model. That's a sort of a super ESCO under the Ministry of Power, and they're looking for the municipal projects where they can support. So they finance it, and then you pay back based on your savings. The institutional anchoring is proposed to be right now anchored with the Central Water Commission and supported by the IEWP in the phase 3. So that's once the phase 3 decides upon, maybe Vikrant may be able to tell more about it. So how they would like to take it up in the implementing of it. So we had conceptualized a solution forum in the phase 2. The phase 3 will be the implementation or the helping establishing this, and then how the nitty-gritties of it has to be worked by IEWP along with the EU. And the different support and develop a digital platform for Tapi River Basin, training and handing over. So these are some of the support activities which are to be expected to be taken up under that. And that's all from my side. Thank you. Any questions? Maybe we can raise it.
Thank you very much for that. You mentioned, are there any questions? Actually, there is one, and that's directly towards you. I'll just open. We have a question on our LinkedIn Live page, and that directly concerns something that you had mentioned, sir. And this is, I was curious to learn more about water treatment facilities using granular activated carbon filters. Thank you. This is a question from Mr. Andreas Marouchos from MBO from Cyprus. If I could request you to come to the podium and answer the question.
Thanks, Andres, for the question. To answer you right now, we are specifically not looking into any specific technology right now. This is basically a solution forum, is a business forum which we are building up to help bring in the different stakeholders into one platform for interaction, and primarily to help the people who are investing, that is primarily the state bodies, or even it could be the industry associations who may be looking in for a common effluent treatment plant. So for them to come out and then help out. So then if you're a technology provider, you could come in and then share your technologies in that particular forum. So I may not be able to give you a specific answer to a query about how many this thing, because right now those information is yet to be compiled. So this is basically, we are conceptualize the solution forum, what it is supposed to be meant for, and I've detailed the objectives of it. So we go further ahead, and then we will be, once we get into the compilation of the different technologies, the users and all, we will be looking into that. But right now, I don't have the numbers which you asked for. Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions? I see on our LinkedIn Live feed, there are no other questions, although there are a lot of messages from different companies. If there are any other questions right now, this would perhaps be the correct moment to answer it. I'm cognizant of the fact that we've already used up more of our time than we really should have earlier. So if there are no other questions, I would like to just consolidate the insights that we have learned and to thank all of us like distinguished speakers. We look forward to the solution forum in phase 3 of IEWP as well. We really hope that the entire information we has been insightful to you, has been productive to you. We really believe that there is a lot of interest when it comes to like facilitating coordination, cooperation between EU and Indian businesses in the water sector. And as like one of the speakers had pointed out, like the water sector is not only about sewage and effluent; it's about much, much more. So we look forward to your participation in such events in the future as well. And with that, I would like to close this particular roundtable event. Thank you very much. For our guests over here, I would invite you to take lunch in the room outside. Thank you very much.